take me along just for a ride, but I never thought that we would kiss the sky.
Hey guys, welcome to Frank's Tech Help. So I've had quite a few people ask me about the lighting system on my Traxxas Rustler VXL, and I just wanted to go over some basics on how I personally installed my light system. There's a lot of options out there for light kits and whatnot, but I actually pulled my lights, two sets, out of HBX Dune Thunder 12891. I had a couple extra shells with lights in them laying around, and so just to give you a quick view, I actually pulled out the metal tips here, as you can see right there, and then the LED inserts as well. Drilled my holes in, installed all of my lights. So here's the front, or let me see if I can get it in this direction for you. There's the front lights on my vehicle, and then on the back side I did a couple of some various brake lights there. You can see there's four of them. One, two, and then two up high. So I'm going to turn the lights off here for just a moment, but also additionally I've run two green LED runners under the baseline of this. So I'm going to show you how this is hooked up here. I'm literally just installing my switches today, so I figured before I wired everything into place permanently, I'd go over everything real quickly. So I'm going to turn the light off here real quick just to give you a little quick view. Alright, so this is what it looks like at nighttime as far as the full on. You can see the headlights blaring at you. You got the brake lights coming in there. I know that's upside down to you guys, but, and then of course once again the LEDs. So, alright, I'm going to turn back the lights back on here and take a look. Now if you notice, as soon as I pull this back pin and lift the lid, the lights are going to turn off. Normally on lids like this, when you wire them in, you have to have a plug where you plug it in and unplug it, you know. But watch, pop the back pin here, boom, the headlights are off and there's no wires hanging anywhere. And the reason for that is because right here on the back housing where the body clip mounts, sorry, got interrupted by a phone call there. So let me go ahead and turn this off real quick, turn off the motor, and show you guys what I've got going on here. Alright, so I'm gonna have to zoom in here for a second so you guys can see this a little bit better. Let me go ahead and turn these off, turn this off. So this is the last two switches I'm getting ready to install, so I figured I would show you guys how this is all hooked up before I lock it all into place. So I'm going to zoom in here. So first off, on the body, I drilled my holes, installed all of my lights, put my cables down, and decided to cover it up with electrical tape, you know, just to make everything, you know, there's nothing rolling around loose in there. And here are the two metal clips for the back of the body. As you can see, there's a positive and a negative right there. And then these two parts touch the two connections on the back of this vehicle. As you can see, they're mounted right there. You have the positive and the negative. And what I did is I took some 2-part epoxy resin and then just took a standard body washer that comes with this kit, and used some 2-part epoxy resin and glued it to this rear shock tower right here, okay? And then came back in with some more epoxy resin and glued these two pieces in, glued them onto the lid, so when the lid comes down, it actually comes down and touches those 2 points. So you don't have to plug in, unplug anything as far as that goes. Now the lights on this vehicle are 5 volt, and I've added a fan onto the ESC, and as it turns out, the voltage, it's 5 volts is what it runs on. And so what I did, I don't know if you can see this at this angle, but I plugged 2 wires in and piggybacked them off of the main connector coming from the car to the fan, and then the extra wires run down, loop down into a power switch. So you can see there's the negative connector, so it runs from right here out here. The negative goes right to this negative. The positive is interrupted by a rocker switch for the on and off, and then runs back to the positive right here. So if I put the body on, I can have the lights off, or I can choose the rocker switch and do that. But the lights will only come on in this scenario once the car is turned on. So if you turn the car off, the lights turn off, period. Now on the LED lights down below, I decided to run those directly off the battery. The LED lights, the white and the red, whatever, for the body are 5 volts, so I could run it off this fan, no problem. The LED lights underneath are actually rated for 9 to 12 volts, and it's great if you're running a 3S battery because it's 11.1 volts, you're within range. And I was kind of taking a chance running it on a 7.4 volt, but it actually works perfectly. So underneath here, I have my 2 LED strips running, and I drilled in 2 tiny little holes on either side to run the wires up through the top, and then once they come through, touched them up with epoxy resin to make it waterproof so the water doesn't seep in from underneath there. And so ran the wire, 1 set of wires under the ESC over to this side. And I'll zoom in here so you can see this. So after running it across and then wiring everything together, I've run the negative wire up here to the primary negative connector where the battery plugs in, and I've run the positive up here, and then once again we have an interrupter power rocker switch hooked up to the positive. Anyway, there's the basic setup. And now what I'm going to do real quick, I just wanted to show you kind of the wiring. It looks all gunky right now because there's wires everywhere right there. But I'm going to tighten all this down, use some zip ties, some double-sided tape, and lock my switches in right there on the side, and I'll be back with you here in just a moment. Alright guys, so here we are back again. I'm just going to give you a little close-up of my nifty little wiring job here. So I used a little bit of electrical tape to keep the wires kind of pressed together in certain spots. I used some zip ties, such as right here, some tiny zip ties, just to keep the wires in alignment with where I wanted it to go. Same thing down here at the bottom, if I can get that in the light. And then a larger one wrapped around the entire wire assembly. So this is going to keep everything away from the ESC and the motor, keep it nice and cool. And then down in here, you can see where I've installed the 2 switches, on, off. And I used some double-sided tape kind of rolled up to give it a base to stick to. And then I came across the top with some electrical tape and just kind of taped it down into place. So this is all more of a temporary kind of setup. Get my light down here. Kind of a temporary setup for the time being. To do this officially, you're going to want to solder your points in and then use E-shrink around your cables to wire everything in, because once electrical tape gets warm out in the summertime, or it heats up because of the engine, it's going to tend to want to let go a little bit. So like I said, this was just so I could get everything into place and then kind of show you guys how it's set up. And then now that everything's kind of in alignment, I'm going to go back and strip off the tape, solder the points together, and then do the E-shrink over the top of it. So I'm going to again plug it back in here and put the cover back on here. Alright, so here we have it. I've got all the pins locked back in. I've got my rear pins, my 2 front pins, and the power's turned off. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the power, reach up under here, flick the power switch on, see if I can get that in the angle for you. Press the on button. So now the ESC fan is running, and as you can see, there are no lights on. And now my switches are right here on the side of the vehicle. So I can flick on to turn on the LEDs, turn those off, or I can flick the other one on in order to turn on the headlights and the tail lights there. So this is a nice, this is my little brainstorm for the week, is to be able to pop this cover off without having to unplug anything whatsoever. So once again, I'm going to turn the lights out here. Oh, the front lights there, nice and bright. You got the underglow green lights there. And then you've got the 4 tail lights on the back end of it. Right there. Alright guys, so there you have it. It's my little LED to light kit modification for the Traxxas Rustler VXL. switches included, non-wired top release system. So I hope this video helped you guys out in some form or fashion. As always, thanks for watching Frank's Tech Help. Peace.
Take me along just for a ride, but I never thought that we would kiss the